Welcome to the 2019 Dirtbike Magazine 250 Motocross Shootout. For 2019, two manufacturers are offering bikes that are essentially all new. Two others have made radical revisions, while another refined the bike that was ground-shakingly new last year. Put them on the track at the same time and you have a contest with no guaranteed outcome. For the Dirtbike Magazine 2019 250cc Motocross Shootout, we took 6 bikes to 4 different tracks: Paris Raceway, Milestone MX, Glen Helen, and Cahuilla Creek. We gave them all Dunlop MX33 tires as a control measure, dynoed them at Pro Circuit, weighed them in our shop, and rode the daylights out of them. When it was all over, a clear winner emerged. So let's meet the players in the 2019 250cc Motocross Shootout. In 2018, Honda set the 250 class on fire with an all-new bike. Every thought, philosophy, and design that defined the original CRF250R was abandoned, and a double overhead cam electric start screamer emerged in its place. The Honda's motor was cutting edge with a valve train straight out of Formula One racing. For some, it was too much of a shift. The older Honda was a torque king, whereas the new one had all of its power on top. So Honda engineers went back to find more low-end power. For 2019, the throttle body was decreased by 2 millimeters, the cams were redesigned, and the ECU was remapped. It still offers 3 different power deliveries through a handlebar switch, and the chassis still features a Showa coil spring fork, albeit with new settings. It's also got a Renthal fat bar and black rims. Bottom line, the Honda is a fun bike to ride that makes you feel like you're the most talented rider on the track. The handling is forgiving, and the scream of the motor seals the deal. In the final analysis though, it's still just slightly more refined version of last year's bike. We wanted a little more. We've said it again and again. The Husky FC250 is not a KTM. It has its own personality, its own strengths, and its own weaknesses. Despite all that, each year, the Husky and the KTM finish in a virtual tie in the final pecking order. They've been different, but not different enough for true separation in performance. For the record, the Husky FC250 and the KTM come out of the same factory and share the same engine, frame, and suspension. The Husky has a long list of things that set it apart though. It has completely different bodywork and a composite subframe airbox. The Husky uses Magura clutch hydraulics, DID Dirtstar rims, and Pro Taper handlebars. This year, the Husky got a stiffer frame, new bodywork, among other changes. Bottom line, Husky made improvements to the FC250 for 2019, but you have to ride it at a very high level to appreciate those changes. The bike can win races at any level, but is less friendly to novices than it is to the pro level rider. Kawasaki made no mechanical changes to the 2019 KX250. It had received a significant makeover 2 years ago, then was further updated in 2018. For 2019, Kawasaki's R&D department clearly concentrated on the new KX450 and let the existing KX250 coast into the new year. It still features its dual EFI system with a secondary injector shooting fuel into the air boot upstream from the throttle body. The Showa SFF fork has a single coil spring on the right hand side and a damping function on the left. Only 2 bikes have a Kickstarter in this test, and this is one of them. It's the only bike with a 7/8 inch handlebar, and it has the lowest price. To change the engine mapping, Kawasaki uses a system of electronic couplers that can be swapped out quickly. Bottom line, oddly enough, we love this bike despite its shortcomings. When it's time to hit the practice track and turn some laps, the Kawasaki is on the top of everyone's can I borrow list. On race day though, it's another story. This year, it's Yamaha's turn to make a big leap forward. As expected, the 2019 YZ250F is all new, but based on the platforms and ideas that Yamaha established with the 2018 YZ450F. The frame and bodywork are straight off the 450, while the engine went through extensive changes. Yamaha's production department took a page from the Star Racing Works bikes, essentially duplicating the head concept with oversized buckets and aggressive cam profiling. The bottom end was reconfigured with an electric starter positioned behind the cylinder, which is still slightly canted to the rear. The head pipe does a full lap around the top end before connecting to the silencer, almost in the middle of the bike. The most innovative feature is the bike's EFI system, which connects to any smartphone via a Wi-Fi signal. That allows you to alter the mapping, and a handlebar mounted switch allows you to switch maps on the fly. Bottom line, Yamaha scored well with the motor. On the track, it accelerates every bit as hard as a KTM, and when you're not wide open, the YZ's low-end power makes it much easier to ride. The Power Tuner app is a great innovation, and when you throw in Yamaha's traditional stranglehold in the suspension category, it's a hard package to beat. A newcomer would never know that the KTM is the smallest company represented in this test. On the contrary, the Austrian maker has taken on a leadership role in the motocross world. It's been KTM setting the trend and raising the bar in recent years, and all the others have had to follow. In 2019, the 250 SXF received a significant chassis redesign, despite the fact that it was a unanimous class leader. The chassis was made to be more rigid in all planes of movement, and the bodywork was slimmed down. The radiators were lowered, and the swing arm was altered to allow more adjustment. The engine got a new throttle body and a new clutch with a diaphragm spring. It retained features like Brembo hydraulic clutch, master cylinder, and slave cylinder. A bar-mounted multi-switch allows access to 2 maps, traction control, and launch mode. Bottom line, the people at KTM know exactly what they're doing. The reason this bike is aimed at expert riders is because they want expert riders. It's a little more expensive and a little more advanced than the average 250 rider. That's all according to plan. Suzuki isn't a company to follow anyone else's lead. A lot of work went into the 2019 RM-Z250, but it wasn't to graft an electric start or have a push button mapping. Those might come later, but for now, Suzuki wants to concentrate on the basics. The bike was given a new frame, new bodywork, and new suspension. Then the motor was redesigned from the cylinder up. The head is new, and the EFI system was redesigned to make use for a secondary injector between the filter and the throttle body. For mapping changes, the RM-Z makes the use of plug-in electronic couplers. Suzuki's S-Hack launch control goes a step further than the others with the different modes for different traction conditions. The suspension is new with coil spring KYB fork and a KYB shock. Bottom line, Suzuki has given us a string of winners in the 250 class, but you have to go back a few years. The new RM-Z250 is more powerful, and that's a big step forward. Unfortunately, it seems like the team got half the job done. The suspension is really stiff, and handling is uninspired, and the power is a compromise. There is a great bike in there somewhere, but you have to dig for it. Riding motocross bikes is fun. Ranking them, not so much. In the 250 class of recent years, it's especially difficult to distill fact and separate personal biases from a broad range of riders who vary in size, skill, and style. Determining the final order can be a tedious process, but not this time. The winner of the 2019 Dirtbike magazine 250 Shootout was nearly unanimous among test riders. Going in, we knew this machine was gonna be hard to beat. And that bike is the 2019 Yamaha YZ250F. If the Yamaha engineers would have just taken last year's bike and found more top-end power, that would have been enough to place it on top. Yamaha did much more than that. The new YZ250F has power, suspension, and true innovation. For the complete 2019 250 Motocross Shootout results, check out the March issue of Dirtbike magazine. And as always, for the latest off-road and motorcycle industry news, go to dirtbikemagazine.com. If you have a little bit more time and you want to check out each individual bike video, click the playlist now. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button.